work out if I land you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Matt, we are live, so go ahead and take it away, sir.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining this morning's Mainframe Security No Fail Friday. My name is Matt Doobie, Product Marketing Manager for the Mainframe Security Portfolio here at CA Technologies. Today, we will be talking about granular security and CA Top Secret. Our speaker today is Paul Cott, Top Secret Principal Software Engineer, and with that, I'll hand it over to you, Paul.
Okay, thank you, Matt. This session is going to focus on administrative authorities and how you can get a more flexible and granular security when it comes to administrating authorities for your top secret environment. And the agenda for today is first, I'll take a look and introduce the CA CASECAUT, which is the resource that provides that granularity for administrative authorities. And then we'll take a look at what, in that introduction, looking at what authorities are there today and have been there for many, many years, and what CA CASECAUT brings to the table, and how CA CASECAUT will play roles within various areas like changing password fields and new password restrictions, certificates and key rings, running utilities, modify commands, and also some of the administrative privileges for restricted functions like setting the password for the master SCA. So with that, the introduction, what we have today in the product, or the start of the product, is in order to administrate any type of resources for users, either allowing them to create ACIDs or change passwords or move ACIDs or rename them, whatever, we have administrative authorities already in a product called ACID, Data, Resource, Facility Scope, and then various miscellaneous from 1 to 9. And they provide security for the administrator to give out authorities to various administrators within their data center. So for this new SecOff, there are really two ways that this is used. One, it supplements that existing administrative authorities that are already out there. And its main purpose is to really give authorization to users that may not have any admin authorities currently. Or maybe they have administrative authority, but they don't have a particular service or function that you want to give them. But you don't want to give them too much power. You just want to specifically, granularly give them a function that they need. The second way CA CASECAUT comes in is to provide an extra layer, kind of like a multi-factor, that the administrator has authority to do something, but in certain areas there's some sensitive functions like setting NOPW or adding a super user UID 0 or changing the master's SCA. Where those are really high sensitive functions, CA CASECAUT provides an extra layer of security for that. Now, what is the CA CASECAUT? I mean, it's really a resource. It's defined in the resource class. It was put in probably back in 2010 as a resource. It's defined in the RDT, the resource definition table. And here we have the various, just like any other resource, you have the keyword can be used for any type of command, from an add to a revoke or who owns. And also it could be administered to any ACID type, from a user all the way up to the MSCA. A couple things to really highlight here is in order for administrator to permit out CA CASECAUT, they have to have authority, say, for example, to add ownership for that resource, the CA CASECAUT resource. They would have to have CA CASECAUT own authority to actually own that CA CASECAUT resource. And also to permit or revoke these resources, that administrator would need XOF authority. Now, the administrator can also specify on these, say, a permit or revoke commands, access levels, none, use, update, privilege, and all. These are all valid access levels for CA CASECAUT. and also any of the time, expiration, facility date and time, and actions all are supported, just like any other resource. Now, its role in changing password fields. Right now, in order for an administrator to change someone's password or do anything in terms of replacing it or modifying it in any way, the ACID maintain is what is needed as the authority, or a MISC-8 PW maint is needed to do maintenance on ACIDs that, of course, are within their scope to allow them to specify the password keyword on the commands. For the CASECAUT, one of the practical applications for it is, say you have administrators that do not have this ACID maintain or MISC-8 authority, but you want them to replace a password for users. So the granularity there would be you can do a permit for the CASECAUT resource and just permit them to replace a password. Okay, so the entity, the structure of the CASECAUT is the first prefix, this TSS command, .user. That's pretty much static. The replace, that would be in the location of the TSS command, and the password would be the actual function, and access update is needed. So here you have an application where you don't want to give the administrator maintain or PW maintain, but you do want them to replace passwords within their scope. So you can permit them to CASECAUT, and they'll get that permission. Now here's just a list of, a table list of various password fields that are related to authorization. Suspend is also in there, password phrases and such. So in the middle of the screen you have the entity name that you would use for the CASECAUT, and then to the far right is the applicable commands for the command qualifier. For NEWPW restrictions, there's a NEWPW control option. I showed the default here, minimum days for a password or minimum length. Do you want repeatable characters or special characters within there? So we have a control option to do that. Now for administrators that had either ACID maintain or PW maint, they were able to go and not follow, not be restricted by those PW rules. Okay. About a year or two ago, we implemented a PW admin facility option called PW admin yes, which enforces these control option rules and regulations for the administrator. So the administrator couldn't go and they had to follow the rules that was set up by the NEWPW command. With that set to yes, that's a global option. It covered the whole complex. So if the administrator had ACID maintain, they had to follow the rules. Well, some of the administrators may not, may need to change a password and not follow one of these PW rules. So we implemented a number of CASECAUT resource entities that they can use. For example, here it says if they have ACID maintain or PW maint, they can bypass the PW admin restriction by permitting them CASEC command user, and the asterisk there is any command add to replace, and then PW admin.no. No would say that you're bypassing all NEWPW restrictions. And on the table on the next slide here, it has various different granularity here that you can use. No would turn it off completely, ignore PW admin, or if you want to restrict it to 0 intervals, you can do that. So there's a lot of flexibility in here. So there's 5 other entity names that you can specify in PW admin. In the realm of certificate and keyring commands, to do them, to administrate them, the MIS4 authority, you have cert user and like all the way there. So in order to maintain users and give out certificates or generate certificates or export and all, you would need one or more of these MISC authorities. In lieu of that, if you don't have this MIS4 authority and you want a user just to be able to generate a certificate or generate a request, certificate request, you can do so. You don't need to give a MIS4 authority. You can permit them that CA command cert user gen request, access update, and they'll be able to only be able to do generates of certificates. And here's another list of shows the authorizations needed for certificates. All the various commands on your left side, from add to export, gen cert and all, and then a corresponding entity name on the right. Let me go to the next screen. Okay. Running utilities. Top Secret provides a host of utilities, TSS Extend and Main, Util, Audit, and Tracking. Usually the MSCA obviously has authority to run these. But to give out authority for like Util, a chart, you needed an ACID report and resource report. Again, in replace of this, that you have administrators who do not have ACID report, let's say, and you want them to run TSS, have authority to run TSS Util, you can permit them that CA and the entity is TSSutility.TSSutil and access use. That's a practical application when you're doing reporting that you don't need to be the MSCA or have authority to do it. You could just permit the CA And here's a list of a table list of utilities. We have 8 of them out there, and then the corresponding entity names that you would use that you permit the resource to those individual users that you want them to have authority to run these utilities. In the area of modify command, up until a couple years ago, to do a modify command, either display or alter control options in Top Secret, you needed the console attribute, and that still holds true today, that you would need the console attribute, and that would give you the authority to display and alter. But there was a request to kind of break this up, where the modify to just have authority for display and have authority, separate authority for alter. So we implemented that with the CA and you don't need the console attribute any longer to say you want to display, and I have a display here of different options that could be displayed when you do the modify command. And down at the bottom, one of the applications, if you don't have console attribute, if you don't want to give that power to someone, you could permit them the CA TSS command.admin.modify access of use. Now the access of use would be for display only. If you want to give them both display and modify, alter capabilities, it would be access privilege. Now last, we've seen mostly that the CA was there to provide a replacement for a administrator authority like ACID maintain, where you didn't want to give that out, but you wanted some sort of administrative authority, and you gave out this, kind of was a supplementation of it. This one here is kind of a add-on, an addition to it. In other words, there's 3 major areas that we felt that are very, should be locked down even more secure than what we have. For example, on the top, when setting NOPW on the password value, ACID maintain or ACID create authority is needed. We further lock that down by the need of CA you see the plus here. It says that in addition to ACID maintain or ACID create, to do a NOPW on a command, you would need TSS command.user and then command here, whatever it is. If it's a create or replace, NOPW would access the update. So it's an addition to kind of like a multi-factor, where you have two authentication to present. So as far as setting a new password for the master SCA, we felt that to be something that needed to be further to be locked down, because a lot of administrators would have ASID maintain already, but you don't want them the capability of changing the master's password. So we provided the CASECAUT for that, and the entity name is MSCAPW. And lastly, recently we had a request to lock down administration of UID 0 to users within their scope. ASID maintain authority is still needed, but we also added admin.user UID 0 that is needed in order for an administrator to administrate UID 0, because it makes the user in a Unix system a super user by doing that. So we felt there. So here you have an example of taking what's existing there, like ASID maintain, and also adding an additional layer of security via the CASECAUT. And that is it. So is there any questions in what was presented here?
Thanks, Paul. Everybody, if you have any questions, please go ahead and use the Q&A function within WebEx. It's in the lower right of your screen. If you don't see it, just click on the question mark icon at the top of the screen, and it will open up for you. As of right now, Paul, we don't have any questions, but we'll give everyone a minute or two to go ahead and type some in. Once again, if you have any questions for Paul, please feel free to use the Q&A function right in the WebEx screen. If you don't see it in the lower right of your screen, just click the question mark icon at the top of the screen and it'll open up for you.
Hi, I'm typing stuff. Are you seeing anything?
I'm not.
You're not. Okay.
I'm not.
I'm asking the presenter, and it's typing in questions. No answers. Not seen. Should I be texting to the host and presenter?
Where are you entering it?
At the bottom right of the screen, where it says ask something and then send it. Yeah. Okay, here's my question. We want to allow people to update the installation data field, but none of the other functions that are under miscellaneous one. How would I do that with this CASECAUT? Yeah.
Okay, is this Paul Harmony?
It is, in fact.
Okay, yeah. When I crunch the screen up, now I can see the questions on the right-hand side. So your question is for MISC-1 authority for installation data. So if you don't want to give that out, how would you do that? Okay, repeat that. I'm sorry, Paul.
I only want data. I only want the inst data portion. I understand that miscellaneous one may have other additional subsets of authority.
Okay. Well, CASECAUT wouldn't have that. The areas that I went over in the presentation, that's the areas that CASECAUT has been developed for. As far as miscellaneous, let's see, if you want to give MISC-1 authority for installation data, that's all it would give. I mean, if you just, that's granular enough. If you just say MISC-1 installation data, you don't get the whole thing. If you say all, you get the whole thing. But like say LCF, user, LTON, suspend, okay, is an important one. You won't get that. So that's as granular as you want to get it.
As granular as I'll need. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You're welcome, Paul. Thank you.
And you said earlier, though, scope. when you're talking scope, you're saying the user ID itself would still have to be a zone admin to do password replacements for everybody.
Correct.
Okay, so that doesn't really change. I'm having a hard time. I've seen this presentation or similar things like this many times, and I'd like to see somebody who's implemented it in a practical way, because I don't really see the practical purpose of it.
Of practical purpose of what particular?
Yeah, making it more granular and more difficult to recognize what people have instead of just looking at their TSS auth. We need to look at more granular to reveal these people as well. We need to find them in other ways.
Okay. Well, I'd love to hear your ideas. That we could talk offline and get some ideas on it. But the CASECAUT is there to be able to give administrative authorities to users that either don't have any authority at all, and you just want to give them one particular thing, like replace a password or something, or as we saw, for PW admin, if you run with PW admin yes for your new NEWPW restrictions, and you have administrators out there that you don't want this, you want them to keep going the way they want, but everybody else to be locked down, the CASECAUT, as you saw there, gives you the bypass capabilities in 5 or 6 different areas there.
Yeah, that was not clear to me either, because it sounded like you were giving them authorities rather than restricting them. For instance, we would rather no one assign UID 0. We'd rather no one assign non-expiring passwords. We'd rather that no one, what's the other one that they do? Anyway, those two, for instance, we'd want to make sure that all of our help desk folks can't do that.
Right, and that's what, say for example, you picked the example of administrating UID 0. In order to do UID 0, you would need ACID maintain, and on top of that, now the CASECAUT is needed to lock that down. So you can do CASECAUT TSS command.admin.uid 0, and that's the authority you would need to administrate UID 0. So your help desk would not be able to do to administrate UID 0 if they didn't have to permit the CASECAUT admin.uid 0.
And that SecAuth check, that additional verification for authority,
yes.
Is by default, or did I have to turn that on?
No, that's by default.
Okay, so if you can't assign UID 0 right now if you don't have it.
Right.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome, Paul.
Hey, Paul, there's another question that I'll try to read. Hopefully I don't mess anything up. When a new SCA is created by converting a type user to type central, we have to do this from the MSCA. Can case CAUT be used to allow other SCAs to do this?
Let's see. Off the top of my head, I would say it doesn't fall under that. There's nothing, everything that's covered in the presentation is all the areas that CASECAUT was designed for. So in this case, the authority to do that, no, there's nothing there. You could submit a request for a new entity to do that, but currently there's nothing there in the CASECAUT to do that.
All right. And then I think that's our last question. Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay, I have there's a question here. What does the security controls in CA mean? Well, it would mean security controls in terms of administrative authorities, controlling who could issue, create commands, permits, add attributes to individual ACIDs and such. So it's the administrative controls is what the session was referring to when it says security controls.
Okay. I don't see any other questions coming in, Paul. So
okay.
I guess that means we can wrap up. Thank you very much. Thank you too, Matt, and of course, thanks to all of our attendees. I'll be getting the replay of this session posted out in the community either later today or on Monday. So happy Friday and have a great weekend.
Thank you.